Okay, hello and good day to everyone that is really tuning in here at the Sphere Rock and Podcast Network. Once again, I'm going to be the host for today's episode. My name is Duane, and with me today is Charisse. Nice to have you here. She's an executive assistant, which is one of the hired VAs as well for Sphere Rocket. So, Charisse, again, how are you doing today, and what was the last meal that you ate?
I'm doing great. Sorry, didn't catch your last question, but really excited to be part of your. Thank you, Sphere Rocket, for inviting me.
Of course, thank you as well for accepting our invitation. And my question last time is really important. It's what was the last meal that you've eaten before this?
Oh, yeah, I we had dinner with my family.
I need to be specific. What dinner did you eat? Is it rice with
We had
something?
samji.
Samchi?
Yes,
What is samchi? I need to
it's Korean. It's a Korean barbecue.
what do you call this? Is it different from what do you call this? I forgot the Korean word for it. It's like bulgogi or something. No, it's not bulgogi. Ah,
Is it like
samchi,
a
samgyeopsal,
yeah
samgyeopsal.
samji? Yeah,
Oh, I thought you said like
samgyeopsal.
samchi. Samchi was like, what is
Yeah,
samchi? Oh, samgyeopsal. Okay, got it.
yeah. Sorry,
Oh, I see. Is it pork or beef? I'm really craving for one right now. It's been a while, actually.
pork
You cook it at your house or did you went outside in a restaurant?
at our home.
Oh, that's really convenient then. And it's really
Yes,
good that you're able to, have it conveniently at home. Like, yeah, especially since you're working as a VA. I'm not sure what time you got it, but you don't need to rush like home to get dressed for work. I think, yeah, that's one of the benefits of becoming VA, just becoming more free in general. But more of that
definitely.
later. Yes, and I guess I would like to first start off by asking you, what was your background like prior to becoming a VA? What kind of work were you doing?
I've been in the outsourcing industry, like in the BPO, for around 8 years with different roles, not just limited to being a customer service, tech support. I've also been in the managerial position, and I transitioned becoming a VA way back 2018.
Wow, okay, it's been a while. Okay, 2018.
Yes,
So 8 years. So you probably started at 2010, and then
yeah,
it's exactly like in 2018, you went into
yeah,
the BPO industry. But considering that you've covered a lot of positions within the BPO industry and you've spent 8 years on the BPO industry as well, you've been a manager as well. What led you to have this transition? Because normally, if you're like 8 years doing a job, you're probably gonna think, I can retire at this job, or did you never had this thought, or something changed with the situation you had?
Something changed because I was working at Yala Techno Hub way back, and I live at Sig City, so the hours of commute time, it takes me 2 hours to get to work and another 2 hours to get home, not to mention the hassle of commuting. So
Yes.
the construction, and it's
Oh,
really
okay.
yes,
I can
yes,
imagine the hassle of just traveling, and you're gonna look all presentable, waking up earlier and then taking a shower, or all of those pampering stuff, and then you're gonna go travel in the traffic, and this, yeah, and then you're gonna look when you're at the office, you don't, and it's pretty much gonna be
exactly.
like the extra hours that you spend to get ready and to look nice is a bit wasted, and to get home, it's
Yeah,
like 4 hours of your life
yes,
wasted.
yeah,
And it took you 8 years to realize that, or is it? It's just like it just you were already hearing about the VA stuff because the VA work or remote work is not so old. It's just an early kind of like what do you call it, group of kind of work. Like yeah, I forgot the term for that, but yeah, it's not so recent compared to the BPO industry, which was here since like the early 2000s. So how did you first got hear about VA work, and did you just decided that you wanted to get into VA as soon as you find out that this exists?
yes. That's what happened. So it took me a long time before having met someone who's in this industry. And when I learned about it, I already took a leap of faith and uh, tried to explore the possibilities of being one.
Yeah, took a leap of faith, definitely. I think that goes for a lot of people, especially if you've had a stable career, like in a corporate world. Like, you can retire at that job, but you're gonna, you decided to jump into this not so sure kind of job. I guess because it doesn't have so much job security or like benefits compared to the usual ones that we've had. And what drive What made you decide on that leap of faith? Because it's a lot of stability that you gave up to go to this one.
It's the other way around. It's really the other way around because when I transitioned into working from home, I was hired in house by a logistics company, and there were a lot of benefits when it comes to like compensation. So they give health cards, they give internet subsidy, bonuses on top of our salaries.
This is for a VA?
It's for an appointment setting job.
Oh, wow. Okay, I guess you had an opposite experience because for the other people that I've talked to, it's the opposite. Like they didn't have much job security. They can easily get cut off if the client, decides to go on a different path. So I guess you got lucky with that. And yeah, I think that would be enough to convince you to somehow get to this kind of change of career. And
Yes,
appointment setter was your first job, first VA job.
yes.
I'm not sure how similar is that to a managerial position, if that also covers like handling shifts or how you're gonna handle shifts with your coworkers, or is it more like appointment setter for meetings of your employer?
Yes. So what we do is we directly call business owners who are not yet introduced to having electronic logging devices to their trucks, and then we set an appointment with them to the account executives of the company.
And you were able to get this job by just like you got introduced to this job, you got referred to this position. I think that was the case that you've had.
My manager way back 2008 or 2009,
Oh, okay.
I learned that she's into this
Uh-huh.
industry and I applied.
Well, it's good to have connections, like even from, or it really helped a lot. Like actually, me too. How I got into this, just an old classmate of mine told me like, "Hey, I have this opening position. You need to just work from home." Like, what? How is that possible? And if it's possible, I was expecting that maybe the compensations will be lower because you don't need to go to the office. But I was so wrong about that because they actually
That's
paid
right.
really good. Yeah. And is the salary also one of the things that you look into? Or were you also, did you have this misconception at first that, okay, it probably may not pay as much as I was doing in the office, but I will take it because it's work from home? Is that how your thought process went?
The salary itself already what I am earning when I was in
Uh-huh.
the
Oh,
BPO industry
uh-huh.
without any commissions and other bonuses. So it was doubled.
Yeah. It's a win-win basically because it's
It
an
is.
upgrade. You get to work from home. You don't need to go to the traffic and stuff. But I'm not sure. Were you working in a night shift before, or is it like a day
Yes.
shift? Okay, so there's not much of a transition.
Not much of a change.
Yeah, it was a direct
And
upgrade.
I'm not a day person also, so this is the
Okay.
best schedule
Yes,
for me.
but don't you miss like the office life, like seeing people within your office, like talking to them, interacting with them, or you don't really care? You just wanted to be at home. You wanted to be more relaxed.
The
Which one is
funny
it?
thing is, even my workmates before, they've already transitioned into becoming a virtual assistant. So I can't
Someone
complain.
implements everyone. Someone, it's like
Yes.
a domino effect.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess that's good for the industry. That means more people. But the thing about the VA industry, it's competitive because there's a lot of people fighting to get a spot. I mean,
I
considering that
agree.
it pays a lot and the work is, I wouldn't say the work in general is easier, but because you're at home working, the environment is a lot more easier to work with and you have more freedom. How are
Yes.
you?
I think, oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Carry you how did you what were you gonna ask?
Yeah. That's what I really loved about this industry because you can be anyone you want to be. So if
Mm-hmm.
you want to be a graphics designer, if you want to be a video editor, if
Hmm.
you want to be an email marketer, it's really up to you how you would get those
Yeah.
skills. So
Yes. And speaking of
it's
getting
really
the
exciting.
skills, the thing about also another thing challenging about a BA is it's not compared to a corporate setup where you had time to adjust. You have some trainers to train you or someone, a buddy to mirror and follow whatever he says. You're kind of left in the dark alone. So you needed to be more resourceful in terms of this kind of work. And yeah, so in terms of that, was that hard for you to be more proactive in terms of learning for yourself because you didn't have a direct manager where you can ask everything. I mean, sure, you have your client employer, but you wanted to minimize as much as you can with the questions because the reason he hired you is so he can save more time for himself. So how do you adapt to that?
I think I really adapt pretty well with that kind of environment, with this environment, because someone who would really exhaust all of my resources before asking questions. And I remember I started working as a lead generation specialist for my client. And after a month, he had me promoted to become his executive assistant with an increase with my salary. So it was a smooth transition, and then he also said I needed a website for my services, but then I'm having challenges looking for a website designer, so why not just
You did
try it?
website designing before, or is this your
Yeah,
first
no,
time
no, no. Well, when I created the website of my client, I just did it
from
things.
scratch, like
Yes, from
from
scratch.
doing YouTube videos, Googling how to
Yes,
make a website?
exactly.
Wow. So that is the benefit of living in this generation right now. Like you can just be somewhat of a professional, like those kind of things, like video web designing. Normally, you need to learn it in school or a really long process. But if you're that kind of like, there are people who learns by just watching videos. I guess you're one of those people who can easily learn, and that's good. And also a challenge for most people because if you get hired for like an X kind of position, that doesn't mean that you would be just sticking in this kind of position.
Yes.
You need to be not complacent. You need to always
Yes.
improve. Yeah, because I said this before. What you're doing now in the VA industry might not be relevant in the next year or maybe in the next few months. So I think that's also one of the things that make VA work kind of challenging. I wouldn't say difficult, but it's challenging. You just need to have the motivation for that.
I
Did you
agree.
find did you find it as a challenge though? Because before basically you're doing something systematic, like every day you're gonna do the same thing every day, but now you need to be more colorful with how you do your tasks. How was that kind of transition in terms of the tasks you do now?
I'm really excited about learning new things and be able to skill, because as you learn, you also add value to yourself. So I remember my client saying every year you should have a salary increase, because who you are at the start of the year will not be the same person when you end the year. You gain a lot of experiences, and your worth also increases.
I love that client. Other clients should learn from that client. Like, give a salary increase every year because what we're doing now is better than how we're doing it before last year. So, yeah, that's for everyone that's
Yeah.
listening in. Always give us an increase, and definitely, I think this also goes for you. That if you get a salary increase, you'll be more motivated to work harder because I got a salary increase, I'd be more motivated. And yeah, I guess it's a psychological thing, but only if you're worth it. I mean, if you're not really changing how you work, you're doing the same work as you're doing before, you might get demoted or get removed because the client has expectations for you to grow. And yeah, and another thing about becoming a VA compared to working in a BPO set, I guess, is you're more involved with the business itself. Like before, you're just one of the gears in a that can easily be replaced, but now as an executive assistant, as yourself, so you have more responsibility, and whatever you do will have a larger impact to your employer or the business itself. Is that
Yes.
also something that are you more excited that you're more involved, or are you a bit more nervous because it's a more delicate position that you're holding now?
Yeah, because of the dynamic work of my client, he has
Hmm.
speaking events, he has coaching. This working space, it allowed me to
Hmm.
contribute to a meaningful, like more meaningful projects that he's
Hmm.
doing. And
Hmm.
I'm also learning from his expertise.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, is it only you who's his VA, or
yes.
you got all the attention, you got all the the knowledge you can have? And oh yeah, so now that we talk about your job, your work, and I think you're having fun with your clients so far. I mean, you get a yearly increase in your salary, so I think it's hard to complain about that. How were you able to get paired up by this client? Is it like from Sphere Rocket or is it from another one?
From Sphere Rocket, I started with my
Hmm.
journey with this client. He's
Hmm.
my very first client with Sphere Rocket
Hmm.
in
What's his name?
August of 2020. JJ Hara.
JJ Hara. Okay,
Yes.
and how was the process on being paired and being hired as Sprout? I mean, this is not your first time being hired as a VA. So how did the process differ from how you first got your first job as a VA?
The process went really smooth, and it was a fast paced hiring process. The team of Sphere Rocket are really efficient when it comes to profiling the right VA to the right client. So they know who to profile with and to pair up with, because they know what exactly know what the clients would need and what challenges may arise if they will not be able to pair them with the right fit.
Exactly. And no, it's not just like in a skill-based level of pairing, but the character. It really matters.
Yes.
Especially as you, an executive assistant, that means that you have constant communication with your employer. So you need to be in good terms with the employer, not just like time in, time out. Kind of like you need to get that extra hand so you have a better working kind of relationship with him. And with your tasks all involved, what do you think is the most challenging part of working for an employer that you don't see eye to eye, especially you're an executive assistant? Normally you should be like beside your boss all the time, but now you're doing it digitally. How's executive assistant going as in a digital space?
My client is highly dynamic. So if he wanted to implement something, wanted to come up with this particular business, he will not wait. He actually implements it right away. So the transition is really fast. So if he starts this particular coaching class and then he wanted to have another business tied up to it and another business tied up to it, we implement right away.
Okay, you
So
need to be also proactive. Like if you need
yes,
that, you need to be ready to do it. Like yeah, as soon as you can. Oh, okay. But I guess you're having fun with this kind of challenge. Like you mentioned earlier, you're the type of person who wants to continuously learn a lot of things. So yeah, it's good for you. And also, I wanted to ask, since working remotely, I mean, you've spent 8 years in the office, commuting like 4 hours. What was the impact of transitioning to a work from home in terms of your work life balance? Which of the things that you're able to do now that you weren't able to do before?
spend more time with my family. So I remember not having holidays for the, I know, probably my career.
Double pay,
Yeah,
but it's not worth it.
yeah, not worth it. And now my client, he even gives me a whole week of holiday off with full pay. And he always encourages me to make sure I enjoy what I'm doing on a daily basis. And if I'm not okay, he always asks if I'm comfortable with the tasks that we're doing. And what I really like about him is his somehow he's also focused on the personal development of his executive assistant or in what I do, because he knows that if I'm not okay, his business will also be affected. So
It's
it's
considering your emotions as well. Even if maybe does it include like if you have problems within your household, family, or friends as well, or just work stuff when we say about sad?
I'm not really an emotional person, and I see myself as
Yeah, you
a
always smile. It's hard to
practical.
see you like sad. I don't know about anything.
Yes, but when you work with someone for 3 years, you would know just by like a particular gesture if you're not okay. So I think we already developed that particular bond wherein you'll feel that something is off with just like a gesture or just like the way you answer or interact with your client.
And when he felt that, what does he really say? You need to take a break or something, or do you need something? Are you okay? Is that?
And just he would just check on me like,
Mhm.
hey, how's your weekend? Anything
Oh,
bad?
like that. I see. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's still in a professional, in a professional kind of level. That's not like not diving into the personal matters. I mean, it's actually a healthy kind of
Yes,
work
and
relationship.
also reminding me to also keep like healthy habits, because he knows that I'm just working at home. He would encourage me to go out, make,
Exercise, like to run
yeah,
around.
exercise and do like some outdoor activities with family. And if he knows that there's a particular occasion that we would celebrate as a family, Then he would also like compensate me like during our wedding or my
Oh,
birthday. So
really?
he's really generous,
Oh, wow,
and
that's amazing.
he's I see like a family in him.
I remember for a lot of companies that I worked for in the past, if you did something great, you'll get a pizza. You get a pizza lunch. And that's like, oh, thank you so much for the pizza and some soft drinks. But I guess in the VA industry, particularly with the clients we have here, they actually compensate you with things that would matter. Like not
Yes.
just the pizza thing, but if you did a great job, they will give you something that will actually inspire you.
Yes.
Because
I remember
I don't
one
know.
holiday
Yeah.
he asked me, or he told me that I wanted to give you a bonus, but this bonus would be spent with your family members. You have to buy
Wow.
something for them.
That is really heartwarming, actually. He said like
Yes.
this bonus. He actually wanted you to spend it on your family. Like
Yes.
something.
Like with my relatives, with my extended family.
Where did you
With
spend it
my,
with? I'm curious now. If it's okay for you to share, how did you spend it?
you know how Filipinos spend their typical Christmas? There will be like games. So I spent it
Oh yeah,
with
party
like
games. Yes.
prizes. Yes.
Oh, that's all fun and games. And I guess he was able to. Yeah, he probably knows your family members as well. Like especially the close family members. That kind of bond and closeness with them. That's awesome. Like it's hard to
Yes.
see that in a normal, especially in big companies in the BPO industry, they wouldn't really care so much. I mean, sure they would care about your outputs, but your outside life, they're no, they're hands off over that. I mean,
Yes.
it's good or bad, but if it's in a positive note, like how your boss is compensating you so you can spend time with your family, so that's actually a lot more healthier. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are really aiming to get like a VA kind of job. I mean, the freedom as well, and specifically with Sphere. What I've noticed with all the other VAs that I've talked to in the podcast episode is they only have good things to say about their client. Sure, they're gonna say like my client really pushes me hard to finish something, but they meant that in a positive note that it's for self improvement. And if it's a really hard task and they were able to accomplish it, they're compensated like in generously, as some would say. So it's all healthy, kind of like a healthy kind of partnership. And yeah, Spirocket only also takes into account what kind of clients we're going to be taking, which we're going to be pairing with the VAs, because we're all about supporting our kababayans as well. Of course, Filipino, we
Yes.
don't want them to be abused because other clients would abuse the heck out of people. They would make you do everything with minimal instructions, and the worst thing, you can get cut off like so fast without anything. And I think that's one of the nightmares of some people, especially if you're living like salary paycheck to paycheck, basically.
I agree.
But you're lucky because you've been staying with your first and last client, hopefully, with your rocket. So that means that, yeah, you're doing an awesome job as a VA with your client right now. So all of those things being into account, I mean, since you had a breezy interview, probably because you got hired already. I mean, did you had any fail interview before, or was it your first interview as well?
I was scheduled for another interview before, but he didn't show up. It's the same client.
It's the same, it's funny,
Yeah.
but at least in the second time he decided to take you a chance, and you didn't give up, and you attended the next one, and the rest is
Yes.
history. And
Yes.
what do you think was the X factor that you think he saw in you that made you get hired by him?
I think he had seen the potential of being trainable. Yes, because in this industry, since he knows that he would be a little demanding with the tasks that he would ask his VA to do, he would need
Mm-hmm.
someone who would easily adjust and adapt to the kind of work environment that
Mm-hmm.
we'd have or we'll share
Mm-hmm.
together. And he
Yeah.
also believes that everything happens for a reason. So
Mm-hmm.
the first hour when we already connected after getting
Mm-hmm.
hired, he already gave me a life coaching session,
Ooh.
and he asked me to also create my own vision board. So that's the best thing that I am already implementing ever since I started working with him as a VA.
That's the first day? It happened the first day you worked with him. Wow, a lot of things, developments.
Yes.
And I guess that's something that you hadn't felt in the past VA experiences that you've had. It's probably like a professional kind of working, but yeah, this is like, yeah, a deeper kind of connection with the client, which will make you more involved, obviously. And
Yes.
you're blessed and lucky to have that kind of opportunity. a lot of people, again, I've been saying, has been aiming to have a VA job, but it's really competitive, as we talked about earlier. So, what would be your advice to potential VAs if they're really interested to one day be a VA that would get them a bit better shot of becoming a virtual assistant?
If you want to become a VA, don't be afraid to delve into it. You have to have the sense of clarity, have the right mindset, engage with your fellow VAs who are already doing it right, and then know your why. Because applying as a virtual assistant may not be easy for you or for everyone. There might be a lot of rejections, but if you have a stronger why, then you'll be able to get reminded that, hey, this rejection will never stop me into getting into my goal as becoming a VA. And then you may attend a lot of trainings. You may listen to a lot of experiences of other VAs, but if you will never take action, I don't think you'll be able to get there.
I guess it's kind of like the same thing where people will just refer to quotes on the internet in
Like
which yeah, they'll just apply it in real life. Oh, this post in Facebook said that guys are like this, girls are like that. To be successful, I need to be like this, like that. But yeah, if you're just gonna read that and just put it in your mindset without taking it into action, as you mentioned, nothing will happen. The first step
yes,
is important. You can read a lot of books, but if you're not gonna apply it in real life, then it's all for nothing. So
yes.
take action.
And they may hear a lot of very like successful stories with the relationship between a VA and a client, like earning six digits and all.
Mm-hmm.
But always keep in mind that if a client will see your value, then that is possible. But if you are too complacent and
Mm-hmm.
you're not really doing what you're supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
even if you will get that client will hire you or work with you, I don't think you'll be able to establish that connection for them to really trust you with
Yes.
those incentives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to really put your entire self into it, and yeah, you need to work on the connections as well. And I guess a bit of luck also play comes into play that you get paired off with a client that actually have this share the same wavelength on how you work. Because once you have that, you're gonna work really in sync together. Like for you, you've been working for 3 years and you got more of just like a business kind of work relationship, not just like time in, time out a specific time, but more involved in terms of like how your family lives and yeah, helps you out as well in those kind of times. And I guess that all coming to play, the best thing you can do is, as you mentioned, not be complacent. Always strive for knowledge because you can have the best character, but if you don't have that initiative to learn, you would just go with what you have, then the client would not see any potential in you. And most sad part, you might get cut off and be replaced by someone who's more hungry for the kind of position that you're working for. So we'll
I
be taking
agree.
a kind of off, but yeah, we're gonna take a short break, and right after this, we'll be back.
Ever dreamed of swapping your hectic office for a comfy home workspace? At Sphere Rocket VA, we make that dream a reality. Say goodbye to rush hours and hello to remote work. Enjoy more time with family, more time for yourself, all while building your career. Interested? Apply now at www.spherejobs.ph.
And we are back at the Spirit Rocket Podcast Network with Charisse. Nice to have you here again, Charisse. And yeah, we shared about the experiences and some advice as well for would-be VAs. But now in this part of the podcast, you can talk about your client, what kind of business does your client do, and how to contact your client or your business in general.
Yes. So my client is a public speaker, coach, a real estate coach, and an entrepreneur. So in 2 years, he already owned or built his rental portfolio from zero to 100 doors. And now he is helping out other individuals also create generational wealth through real estate rental investing. And he's all over social media. You can reach out to him via Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and his name is JJ Hara.
JJ Hara, like H. Okay, you know what? I get the link later on. We'll just have it posted as we upload the videos. But yeah, so coaching services and also some rentals. And which area does he operate on? Which state?
He helps individuals invest out of state, which is in Cleveland, Ohio, but he is from Corona, California.
Okay, so yeah, you know who to contact if you're into for the services, specifically in those areas. And Charisse, before we end this podcast, maybe you want to give a shout out to your coworkers, employers.
I just want to thank my client, JJ. He's been a really meaningful instrument in my entire VA career. And it's just, I always tell him that he's one of the best gifts that I've received or my family received ever since I started working as a VA here in Sphere Rocket. And when you see someone, your client having that desire to help other people, you also find purpose in what you do.
I guess that's really true. Like if you see what how nice or how kind your client is and like his purpose in doing, not just, I mean, of course, the money plays a big part of it. We're all living for that, but beyond that money is that having knowing that hard to help people. Like he's a coach, so I guess that explains why he was able to do some coaching with you, and you were able to learn a lot from that as well. And pretty much you learned how much the potential he can help for other people, and I guess that's also one of the driving factors and what makes you wanted to work your best to improve, to help him as well grow the business along with you. So Charisse, it has been an amazing episode with you in this podcast, and who knows, maybe we can interview your employer as well in the next coming weeks. Let's see what he's gonna say about you. Hopefully all good. But yeah, that is something to look forward to in the upcoming days or weeks in the next episode that we're having in the Sphere Rocket Podcast Network. So that is it. That is it once again for our episode, and we'll see you again in the next episode. Goodbye, everyone.
Do you want to apply as a Sphere Rocket virtual assistant? Well, look no further because this video is for you. I will be telling you which requirements you will need to submit in order to apply to our new website, plus a few tips and tricks to help you with your initial interview. We have achieved a better way for you to send in your application, so let's begin. Step 1. Visit our website
at www.spherejobs.ph.
Step 2. Fill in the application by inputting your full name, email, number, and other questions that you will need to answer in order to move on to the next step. Step number 3, send screenshots of your updated CV, Tony Robbins PDF result, internet speed screenshot with a minimum of 10 Mbps, a scanned copy of your government ID, and your portfolio with sample works. Step 4, click the submit button and wait patiently for our email. Now here are some tips on how to stand out during your initial interview. Tip number 1, dress up as if you were going to an in-person interview. Wearing something formal will give the interviewer a sign that you are serious about applying to this job role. Tip number 2, find a quiet space where your interview will be held. There's nothing worse than getting distracted by the noise around you and not being able to understand what the interviewer is saying. Tip number 3, be yourself and show up as confidently as you can. Know what you bring to the table and honor your worth. Interested in becoming a part of our team? Submit your application now
at www.spherejobs.ph.
Good luck!